All right. I loved hearing that. I think I can speak on behalf of everybody in the room. That was really, really interesting, and I see a lot of commonalities with what's taking place in Utrecht. So I'm hoping we can also, learn and share with one another. So I'm Brianne McGonigle Leyh. My passion in this world is not only transitional justice, which I spoke on yesterday, but also global justice. And I was working on an article, I think it was like 8 years ago now, but maybe 8 years ago, on the role of universities and the role that university law clinics in particular play in global justice, and specifically the documentation of serious international crimes. And through that research, I was reaching out and interviewing different supervisors of law clinics around the world. And I was put into touch with an old friend of mine, Alexa Koenig at Berkeley. And she started telling me about their human rights investigations lab. And I mean, on this call, if you could have seen my face, but I was really like, this is the future of human rights work. This is it. This is what. And I just, after that phone call, and then I interviewed more people who are part of that larger project that they work with Amnesty. And I was just convinced that this is what we needed at Utrecht University. And I immediately started to take action. And thankfully, my university has a huge fund that is available for teachers. And they have different areas that they try to promote. One of them is interdisciplinary education, and another is community engaged learning. And I had been involved in both previously, but I thought this project fits very well within those. So our Global Justice Investigations Lab is not just for law students. We have a number of law students, but it's not just law students. It's open to bachelor's and master's students from across the university, which means we also get students from the geosciences or humanities, literature, studying literature. You know, we really get everything. So you won't get these acronyms, but I'll explain them. LEG is the Faculty of Law, Economics, and Governance. That's where our law school is based. SBS is the Faculty of Social and Behavioral Sciences. Then we have the Beta, which is the Science Faculty, and then we have Humanities. And our core teaching team comes from these 4 faculties. We have 7 faculties at Utrecht, so the lab draws from teachers from those 4 faculties. But again, students who are not in these faculties but in other faculties can still apply to take part in the program. Like I said, we got this amazing funding injection initially from Utrecht University and then from a national fund called the Comenius Fund within the Netherlands. This is it was also very generous, and this was also around interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary education. So we had a lot of time. We had about 1.5 years to set up the program. So we spent, as a teaching team, a lot reaching out to societal partners, reaching out to programs that were doing this already at UCLA, at Berkeley, Essex, and just saying, are you willing to share your information with us? We're very happy to share our information with you once we have decided on a path forward. And what we decided on was these 5 key concepts to underpin our entire program. And the first one is substantive. So we do ground the substantive work in human rights and global justice, and this includes environmental justice. So we have the students share what they think about when they hear human rights and global justice, because I can tell you a philosophy student approaches those topics very differently from a law student. And we have discussions about, well, what is a human rights legal framework with them? And we're trying to get others outside of law, in particular, to understand what a human rights legal framework means. What does that entail when it comes to state obligations, when it comes to human rights, claiming of individuals, the work of human rights organizations or environmental organizations, and how they frame their justice claims. And so the students really get to learn that, and that's something I feel really happy about as part of the program, and we do team teaching. Next is the digital skills, and that's OC skills in particular, and our trainers predominantly come from Bellingcat, but not exclusively. We found it important also to reach out to other trainers to help with us. But the digital skills is also, and you've touched on this, it's also about your safety online, best practices, and awareness around digital knowledge and digital skills. And then we have, these are like the more pedagogical approaches, interdisciplinarity. So we're actually teaching the students about interdisciplinarity. We use a 4-step process at Utrecht University. If you know interdisciplinarity, it's based on Repco's 10-step process from interdisciplinary research, but we've created a 4-step process for education. And that's disciplinary grounding, perspective taking, common ground, and integration. And so we have students do a disciplinary grounding exercise early on, and then they have a lot of reflection. I know the students love it. But it's crucial to interdisciplinarity to reflect. And we get them to think about perspective taking, both with their group mates, interdisciplinary group mates, as well as with their societal partner. What kind of perspective are they taking? And then looking where they can find some commonalities. Ultimately, with their end product, we're looking for integration, but we might not reach it. It might be a multidisciplinary project in the end. Totally fine. But we are trying to get them to think about what are these differences between multidisciplinary work and interdisciplinary work. The International Community Engaged Learning Program. Community Engaged Learning, I think most of us are really familiar with that. That's social engagement with societal partners. We specifically chose to label it International Community Engaged Learning rather than transdisciplinarity. And that's because we want to emphasize that international component. All of our projects, even if they involve a Dutch societal partner, are global in scope and in reach. But we also work with partners outside of the Netherlands. And it's challenging. Sometimes you're using interpreters, and the students have to get used to that. Oh, it's a very different type of meeting if interpreters are involved in how you speak. For me, it's always a challenge because I talk very quickly. And it's a different skill set. So we're also trying to teach them about that, and that perspective taking and reflection also comes in here. And finally, the trauma and resilience informed approach. This was really imparted to us by those labs that were already existing, and also from our societal partners, and in particular Air Wars. They stressed what they do for their staff, and I said, yeah, we need that. So all of our trainers they use, and we now use the DART Center based out of the US, but they have people located also in Europe. So we had Gavin who came, and he gave us a fantastic in-person training with the teachers. He then did an online session with our students, and then we have regular check-ins with our students throughout the program, as well as reflection reports every 2 weeks. So the way it's set up is that we have team-taught seminars from the teachers from across those faculties. We have the skills workshops and trainings, and that's predominantly done. We were able to hire an individual who's responsible for research and training at Bellingcat to be part of our teaching team for 1 day a week for the coming years, and he is responsible for all of the OC trainings. So I have followed many of those trainings now. It's been 2 years, and I'm telling you, I am not very good at that, but our students are brilliant. So it really does take a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of skills to learn it. But Giancarlo is phenomenal. And then the third part of the course, the lab, which spans, by the way, it's like 1 semester, but we have 4 periods, and it spans periods 2 and 3. So it's a little odd. But we then pair them with societal partners. Our Utrecht University is kind of obsessed with this thing called constructive alignment. I don't know if it has reached Queen's University, but I believe in it wholeheartedly, especially as education director. But every single one of our courses at the university, including this lab, operates under the principle of constructive alignment. And that's where all of your learning objectives match with activities that match with the assessments. And if you change any of your learning objectives, then you change the activities / the assessments. But we thought very carefully about what our learning objectives would be. And you can see they reach back to those 5 principles that I talked about initially. And I'm very happy to share our syllabus with people who are interested in getting it. And that also goes for people online. So our societal partners currently are these 5. So Bellingcat, we didn't work with on substantive projects yet because they were so involved in our trainings. But we're looking to potentially do that in the future. So these 4 were our core societal partners that we worked with on different projects. So Milieu-Defensie, that's Friends of the Earth in English, so Friends of the Earth Netherlands. Air Wars, I think a lot of you are familiar with. Amnesty International's Digital Verification Corps / Citizen Evidence Lab, and Free Press Unlimited. And the students, out of some miracle, so we have 30 students across bachelor's and master's, and they were able to rank 1, 2, and 3. And it honestly was a miracle, because I was thinking, oh, we're going to have to disappoint students. Or no, each of the students got their first choice. However, after the first week, one student did make the decision to switch out of Air Wars, which is much more visually triggering, let's say, into the Friends of the Earth group. He realized, because of the trainings he had received, that even following best practices, he couldn't get some of the images out of his head. He just didn't like how that felt. And he was like, I don't actually need to do this, and very happily switched to another group. And I think that's really important. And I don't know if he would have been so aware of that had we not provided the trainings. So I think that's, we were very happy that he was so open and honest with how he was struggling with that. I probably shouldn't have put this on if you're streaming, but we have reached out and we hope to solidify partnerships with 2 more societal partners. We'll see if that works, fingers crossed. So the first year, which just completes tomorrow, we have our big impact event tomorrow. We'll enter its 2nd iteration next year, and we're moving into the research and publication stage. We have, out of this project, we are hoping to publish both educational scholarship around the project, as well as more substantive scholarship attached to the different projects. So my vision for this lab is that we have, because I ran our international law clinics for over 15 years, but that was disciplinary clinical projects, similar, I think, to what's happening here. And what I envision is that we will have our interdisciplinary lab, but that there will also be disciplinary components, that then we would have a law clinic working. We would have our media and communications group of students working. We would have our AI group of students developing AI that can help these processes, because we have a professor of AI on our core teaching team. So this is where we hope to move into the future. And we've just submitted 2 funds, 2 grant proposals, together with different societal partners to try to ensure that can happen. But yeah, can't forget this one. These are our funders, and I'm eternally grateful for the funding. But it has allowed us to have this as our teachers get FTE, our students, it's a bachelor's and master's course, so they get EC. It's, instead of doing it, we devised it so that instead of 20 hours a week for a normal course that they would have to do, it's 10 hours so that they can do it on top of their normal workload, almost like an honors education. I don't know how that exists here, but, and that has worked beautifully. So we had 28 students who started the lab. 1 student had to drop in the first week, and all other students completed that. And so we're really proud, because that's on top of their normal study. And you hear with these extracurricular projects that you very often lose a lot of students, and we didn't have that. And I think that's, goes to the substance that they're working on, and I think that goes to their amazing supervisors and the community that we've tried to create. And I can share pictures later, but I didn't put it in here. But these are, I'll end there, and hopefully we can have a great discussion. Thanks.